僕は今探し始めた水しぶき上げて果てしなく続く世界へ
A man's dream never ends. Hello and welcome to the Nen Show Podcast. This is your host Craftsdwarf here again with my co-host Mathwiz, continuing on the adventure that is One Piece.
The dream is dead.
Oh.
Everybody's dead.
Oh no. That's not how I expected this to go. I can't believe it. Everyone's fucking dead. So anyway, comments. You got any comments, Mathwiz? The comments were dead. There were lots of comments.
Yeah, there was, I guess kicking things off, there was a comment by Arabian Prince saying, surprised that we didn't mention Nami being rewarded for, trusting Usopp, which tied into the main theme of trust, because, like, she had that weird weapon that was totally unreliable, but she's like, no, I trust Usopp.
But she still trusted the big one at the end, even though it was like a complete joke up to that point. That's a good... I didn't think about that. And speaking of, I guess, the fights, is Ani 456123 also had a good comment explaining, basically pointing out some things for especially the Mr. 2 and Mr. 4 fights, like about how, Mr. 2's kind of like a... He does what he needs to fit the situation, so he kind of doesn't have a lot of integrity in that way, whereas Sanji is, very much he is. And so Sanji doesn't respect him for that, because he's just like, he just jumps around, and even at the end of the arc, he's like, oh yeah, I'm a Straw Hat, I'm helping use Straw Hats now, because Baroque Works is gone. But that it kind of ended, like, he got a little arc where he's, gone full, like, friendship, he's finally, like, planting his flag on an idea. He's not just, like, doing it because it's convenient for him. He didn't mention all of that, but I'm pleased to... maybe he did, and I forgot. And he also kind of talked about how...
Mr. 2. Yep.
Well, also the Mr. 4 fight where Chopper was placing his trust in Usopp because Usopp was placing his trust in Luffy. And you can actually kind of see that in this stretch of chapters with, like, every time Usopp says something, Chopper's like... He's, like, taking everything Usopp says as face value. Like, he thinks Usopp is cool now because Chopper is gullible... and Usopp is a liar. So, whereas, and I guess he also meant, he was talking about the adaptability aspect of those two fights, because Mr. 4 and Miss Merry Christmas weren't able to adapt, which is why Usopp was able to use their strategy against them, while Usopp and Chopper have never fought together before, yet their teamwork was on point. So, yeah, good observations. I think there was more to the comment. It's a good comment. Find it and read it. So anyway, to do another one, of course, go on. You're already going, so go ahead.
Okay, yeah, there was one which I guess does warrant, we're a decent way enough into One Piece that this warrants a response, by Holken Perez asking me in particular, because at a while back, I forget when, but I said that I had really high expectations for One Piece, that I was saying, this comment says that I was expecting to enjoy it more than Hunter x Hunter, but that was more so, like, I thought if anything could surpass Hunter x Hunter, this would be one of the top candidates. And, I mean, so far I still think it's a little too early to say I like it more than Hunter x Hunter, but it has definitely lived up to the hype.
That's cool.
Well, it took me a little bit to really start getting into it, but it's like once Arlong happened, it's been pretty stellar from there. So, yeah, One Piece is good.
Yep, that's all they need to know. So yeah, there was quite a bit of discussion on Pell, because I went in. There was a bit of maybe miscommunication, though, because one said thought I had a problem with the crack appearing in the Falcon statue. I don't have a problem with the crack appearing in the Falcon statue, except, in fact, I think it's great, because it's great, it links to Pell's death. That didn't happen. That's the problem I have. Like, it's part of a good death scene. That's not a death scene. Though there was a good, I guess it was kind of agreeing me, but also disagreeing with me. It was by Cross _ They had it basically on, because the thing with sacrifice is, like, there's sacrifice and there's willingness to sacrifice. And, like, because I'm actually watching, Seiju Sentai Gingaman, which, if you've heard of Power Rangers The Lost Galaxy, this is the original Super Sentai series that was adapted into that. And it also has been dealing with the idea of sacrifice in a couple episodes but it's very much like the willingness to sacrifice, but not the actual sacrifice. Like, characters will choose to sacrifice themselves or risk themselves, but they won't actually die because it's ultimately like a children's show. So I I'm not sure where I fully stand on the matter, because I also did my Eaterfront arc video, the Bone Druid one, which was very much, or To Master the Abyss, which also dealt with the idea of sacrifice. So like there's nuance to the idea. Like I'm not sure where I should draw the line between like where, like, do I just want Pell to sacrifice himself? Like I think the thing with Pell specifically is like Luffy said that, you know, people die, and Pell actually dying, you know, lends weight to his words, but without that, it's just kind of not there. So, and but that's not necessarily directly linked to the idea of sacrifice. So, I still need to figure out where should the line be drawn, where like this character needs to die, or this character just needs to be willing to sacrifice themselves. So, yeah. How many more comments did you have? Because I have like 3 or 4 more things to respond to.
I have one more by... No, now I don't have it in front of me. By Box Story, asking me what my favorite Devil Fruit ability has been so far. And, I don't know. There have been a few of them that have some pretty good versatility. Like Luffy's rubber
great.
abilities are cool. I probably like Smoker's the best.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Those are some...
I thought about explaining that, but I'm just not gonna.
No, it's fine. I mean, if you can if you want to. But, I've been asked about my devil fruits, my favorite devil fruits multiple times, which, it's funny because I don't know if you guys if anyone follows me on Twitter, but, I answer a lot of Curious Cat and Retro Spring questions, and every time someone asks me my favorite devil fruit, I link to the last time I've been asked my favorite devil fruit. So now it's like, if you look at the latest one, it's like a 3-link click hole deep. Like you have to of different people asking me the same question. So, yeah, you can, of course I can't actually say it because, like, I do like Luffy's, what are some other good ones so far? Like, there, I can't think of any, the ones I think of are, like, later, spoilers, so I won't say. Anyway, so there was also some commentary on Breath, Zoro's ability, and King Kaido thinks it links to, he did what I talked about, thinks it links to a later power. I don't think it does, and I get to talk about it next time, because where that later power gets introduced. And then Max Musterman was talking about how the sort of Hindu idea of, like, the breath that connects the universe, and that's, like, interesting. Like, I don't think the reference quite, it doesn't, like, suddenly make sense in the world. Like, I don't know, parts of it still bug me about breath. Maybe if I do more research into the concept, you know, or maybe it just still needs to be recontextualized with later knowledge. But yeah, I'll talk about breath more next time, is what I'm saying. A few people suggested that Smoker started the rain, and, like, I don't know, the way I see it is that, you know, like, he said that, you know, the conflict started on Dance Powder, why it ended on Dance Powder. The other thing is, like, that takes away from Luffy's defeating of Crocodile, in my opinion, whereas, like, if Smoker acquiring the Dance Powder ship still, like, he, you know, it's like, it's him sort of doing a Crocodile's thing in a contingency. Like, you know, if Luffy can't beat Crocodile, then Smoker still has the ship that Crocodile was using to manipulate the country. So, like, there's still value in that, but, like, I guess if Smoker did cause the rain, then he's, you know, contradicting what he said. Like, he's even like, give me some credit, Hina, and then taking away from what Luffy beating Crocodile, like, did with Vivi and, you know, helping the country. So that's my stance on it. And I think I had one more. Vontae Lawson was sort of asking, I guess asking us to compare the Alabasta, Soul Society, and Chunin exams, which we can do now that we've read all 3 of those series, except, you know, like, I guess he was asking specifically in, like, what they do for character development and world building. And I know I have my thoughts, but, did you have anything you wanted to say on those 3, on the comparison? Because I guess they're all big arcs that take place at roughly the same point in the series, chapter-wise.
I guess it was... So wait, the question was that, like, rank them?
No,
like,
or I guess it was, like, what do, like, or where, in that... Rank them, I guess, how they add to the world building and character development. Alabasta, Soul Society, and Chunin exams. Because, like, I don't really want to talk about the character development because, like, obviously they're different characters and such. But they also just serve different places in the story. You go ahead first, actually.
Well, if it just comes down to pure enjoyment, I would probably say Alabasta over Chunin exams over Soul Society.
Pretty much exactly what I expected from you.
Yeah.
That's fine. Go ahead.
Because, like, Like, I almost feel like it is a little unfair because, like, Alabasta, like, if we're just talking the Alabasta section, like what we covered in the last Nen show, or if we're covering, like, the whole saga, I think it's a little unfair because Alabasta is so much...
Yeah, well, that's kind of what
I was... Is it so much longer? I thought it was, like, 100 chapters
actually,
so.
As a saga, I think it's still shorter than Soul Society, actually, but maybe longer than Tuning Exams. But, well, because what I was going to say is how, yeah, they're, like, because I was thinking of Alabasta as, like, just the one arc, though I guess there's the whole saga to it, too, but it's, like, they're just different, like, structurally. Like, Alabasta is the climax to this one thing. Soul Society is mostly set up for Arankar, honestly. Like, yeah, there's a lot of, like, important stuff going on in itself, but it's mostly there for the next arc. And Tuning Exams is, I guess, closer to the Alabasta saga in that it's, like, several small arcs, but even then, it's, like, one big arc with several mini arcs, whereas Alabasta is one big saga with several smaller arcs. So it's like, yeah, it's pretty, like, structurally they're very different and different place in their stories. So, and I guess for the world building point, I'd say Soul Society opens up the world the most. Alabasta doesn't really do, like, I mean, there are like, Drum Island definitely opens up the world building a bit, like I mentioned last time, because we get the first mention of the world government, Ace, stuff like that, Blackbeard. But the Tuning Exams did a lot for the world building too, because it went a bit more into the other nations and their relationships. But I don't know, they're all fine, all good arcs. So I just thought it was interesting that he's like asking, because they are like all long arcs at roughly the same spot in the series chapter wise. So I was like, hey, yeah. Did you have anything more to say on that point, or?
No, not really. I think I would need a little more time to actually come up with a better, more informed response, so for now I'm just gonna skip it.
Yep, and that was my last comment, double checking. Yeah, lots of good comments this time. Go read the ones by Cross and Annie42456, or go read all of them, and maybe you'll see some other ones you find interesting, because I can't get to them all. We have an actual discussion to get to. Okay, speaking of the actual discussion, I guess, like, this chapter could have worked, like, maybe it is considered part of the Alabasta arc, but, like, it ends going right into the next one, so it's, like, it goes either way. Like, I could see this as either the start of Jaya and the end of Alabasta, because it finishes off the Nico Robin stuff. So, I don't know, what did you think about Robin, really joining the crew?
I do think it's sort of interesting that, like, she was not the big enemy, but, like, she was basically second to Crocodile. So, like, they have no reason to really trust her. Like, they should be suspicious of her, but then, like, Luffy and Usopp and Chopper are just like, oh yeah, this is fine, and Nami is quickly won over because she's got gems or whatever.
She just, like, one by one wins over the entire crew. Like,
except for Zoro, because Zoro doesn't, like, Zoro's the least trusting of the bunch.
Which was nice. Like, and of course, like, Sanji was immediately like, because she's an attractive woman, of course he's gonna be. And then, and of course, the just lots of good gags and stuff. Like, it's just neat how, like, instantly she's just there in the crew dynamic. It's just, like, if you're having any doubts, like, will this character, like, she's been a sneaky, backstabber up to this point. Will she work with the Straw Hats? And it's like, boom, yep, there it is. So, and of course we get the Luffy saving her in the first place, and Cobra.
Yeah, that was interesting how that tied into, like, the cliffhanger from last time, where she's like, "You, Straw Hat, you did something to me, or you took something from me, or whatever."
Yes, the opportunity to die.
And it's like, yeah, Luffy spared your life when you wanted to die because he didn't want to listen to you.
He didn't care. And there's also, like, we also learn about the real poneglyph, also called the Rio poneglyph, like, it depends on the translation, R-I-O, which, she wants to find out something called the true history, but, so we get a bit more about her motivation, and that she lied, that was the information about Pluton, she just lied about it to Crocodile because she didn't want him to get his hands on it. Understandably, because he's a fucking genocidal maniac. So, yeah, let's not give him the big, bad, ancient weapon. But lots of good character interaction this stretch of chapters, like, just the Straw Hats being fun and goofing off. It's always good. And then a ship falls from the sky. Yeah,
that was a really cool looking, just full page spread, where you just have this giant ship that's like, this colossal ship falling from the sky compared to this tiny little merry-go, and it's like, oh god. What?
And then just the line is anything man can imagine is possible in reality. Just it's a really striking moment to start off the arc. Because I will say this arc is honestly pretty contentious, so I'm pretty curious as to how your thoughts are going to be, especially going forward. Because like some people think it's slow and it doesn't matter and it's pointless and it could be cut in the series, wouldn't change at all. I think it's like the second you've liked it so far
out of this arc so far is just the feeling of adventure. Like you really see it when they actually make it up to the Sky Island. Like there's all this different terminology. Like when they have that interaction with the one guy, he's just talking and they have no clue what he's
what
even
the fuck
saying.
Is an
like he might as well be speaking
like there's
in
like
tongues.
this cultural like difference that we have, even though they've gone like traveled so far and gone to so many different islands. Like the Sky Island is this really like alien place. Okay, I guess we're skipping ahead a bit, but I do really love this gag where Sanji's in the kitchen and he eats like the food and it's like, oh, it's so bitter. What is this, old man? And he's like, oh, that went bad. And it's like, Sanji's willing to be like open and accepting of this new culture and their weird food. So he just eats like moldy, rotten food because he thinks it's just natural. Like, it's so just, I love goofy stuff. It's fun. It's really, like I said, I like the character interaction in this chapter. Though I will say, what's up?
Well, no, I'm kind of cutting you off. Finish your thought.
I was going to change thoughts, actually. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Well, then I will also chime in. The other thing I liked about this arc, or like, I guess the potential I could see out of it, because obviously there's still a whole rest of the arc to continue.
We've only read about a fourth of it,
because Oda starts introducing a lot of new elements right before they go up into the sky, I could see an interesting conflict, like when they make it back down, because like all this stuff is moving, and so like by the time they make it back down, I'd imagine things will have changed, maybe drastically, maybe not, but like they're just kind of getting back into this situation. I don't know, there's interesting potential for them just sort of getting disconnected from the world. Like I think there's narrative potential. I think this is the first time, like I mentioned it back on Logtown, where you get the in between arc like world building where you see the rest of the world stuff, and you really get that in between Jaya and Skypiea with we see Whitebeard, we get a name drop for a certain Blackbeard, we see like a whole bunch of stuff, and so like between the arcs you do have the moving that, you know, the rest of the world continues to move, and you know, so it's like it's obviously going somewhere, but you won't know where until we get to it. So you know, but we'll definitely talk more about that later. The thought I was going to change to is because I reread this arc last year after Anime Expo, because I did my video on this arc, which you can actually watch after we finish the next chapters, even if I'm not satisfied with parts of it anymore. I'll probably talk about most of the ideas here anyway. But, so yeah, like going through it again, there was a bit less, I think I noticed a couple things, but there was a bit less to discover. For me. But, well, because I especially remember, because, like, you said, like, the sense of adventure, like, I remember, like, when I reread it, like, it didn't happen this time, but when they found the map of Skypiea, like, my heart started beating. Like, I was getting excited. Like, even though I already knew this island they were going to, like, the fact that they found this map somehow, I was like, yes! I was really getting really into it last time. So, it's cool. And speaking of that, I also like how, Oda does the thing where he's, you know, this crew member is the archaeologist. Why is an archaeologist going to be... And, oh, no, she's actually super useful. She, like, finds out a lot of information and you know, about, just from the bones. And, you know, just, she's smart. Like, she was also the one who found, the Mont Blanc Cricket's house on Jaya. Like, she's competent, where the rest of the crew is a bunch of doofuses. So, like, I think it was later on, but Nami's like, you're my only friend. And Robin's like, wow, she goes through a lot. Oh, man. Like I said, I just love the character interaction. So yeah, they find out a bit about the Sky Island, and they decide to salvage the ship. I guess, did you have any thoughts on the big salvaging sequence? We get Mashira, we get, you know, just a bunch of interaction, and kind of, is it set up? Like, we do see more of this character later, but, and just, you know, adventure. Now they're exploring, before they go to the sky, they explore the bottom of the sea. So yeah, did you have anything to say about any of this? Like, we're skipping through a lot, but... Yeah, I don't know if I have much in particular to say, because, I mean, like, there were good gags in and around this section, but, like, I don't know. It was good, but...
Yeah, that's the thing, is,
I don't know if I need to call attention to every little
like, there's a
joke.
couple I like when they're just, like, talking and chilling in the ship, and then the ship gets eaten. Like, which is a bit of a fake out, but it's like funny, which is why I think it's, you know, interesting in that way. Like, it's not like a serious one where it's like, oh my god, these characters are fucking dead. It's like, well, it is that, but it's like, it's just the comic timing of it is good. because they just got eaten, but they were fine. And Nami doesn't even care. She's just like, sorry, oh no, the hoses are in the mouth, and Nami's like, cut the hoses, we need to save. It's just silly. And of course we see the giants with the spears, the winged giants.
Oh yeah, I guess it is kind of funny when when they're trying to salvage the ship and they're like, wait, there's people down there, and they're just like, wait, it's like, you pirates over there, be careful, there's wicked people down there.
Yeah, and they were worried, like, oh no, they're gonna know it's us, and he doesn't. Masira's a dope. Just, yeah, lots of good comedy. It's fun. Oh yeah, that was it, because Robin got the Zoro, Luffy, and Sanji brought up junk, but Robin got the eternal pose to Jaya from Masira, so she stole it, and that's when she's like, you're the only ally I have. Just poor Nami, she's so cute. Though I will say, like, this is Jaya and Skypiea, like, we're gonna talk about it a bit, but I would say, like, this is Nami's arc, in a way, like, and how it sort of, like, touches on aspects of her character, and it's interesting and cool. Oh yeah, then we get to Jaya, we get some mysterious character introductions. Someone who's shooting birds from across the horizon. A big masked man who's just beating the shit out of people. A doctor who's passing out exploding apples. These guys are never going to show up again.
Actually, before that, I have
go ahead.
Quick question about, like, right before they separate from Masira, you get this page where there's these 3, like, massive shadowy figures that look like, I don't remember what those were. I don't remember if they showed up again, but they're here.
Well, I mean, I will say that the question is definitely answered for sure at the end of the arc.
Oh,
but
okay,
if you want
so
to
not in
I
this
won't
stretch of
stop
chapters.
You.
Okay.
Not in this stretch of chapters, but the question is
because
definitely
I
answered
did
at the
read
end of the arc.
like the early part of this like a few days ago, so I kind of forgot about this, but yeah, because they just kind of show up and it's like, oh my god, what the hell are these? And then they get blown away, and then it's like, oh well, that happened.
Okay. Yeah, I did kind of gloss over it, but yeah, I like how Jaya is like, it makes sense as this place, like, because the whole world is like this pirate-filled world, and I like how Jaya fits into that, because they're like, oh yeah, pirates, we don't attack commoners, we need the normal people, we need somewhere to spend our money that we earn, but then the pirates will go after each other, and it's just like, it's just neat and cool, and it's like this lawless hive of scum and villainy, and Jaya's neat, even though it's like, it's kind of a throwback in a way, because as a location, like, it's not fantastic at all. Like, it's very normal. Like, there's just a forest with a bunch of bugs, and the actual city is just a normal fucking town. But the characters in it are still weird. But go on.
Yeah, it definitely reminds me of like earlier One Piece, because just the way the characters are all there, and when the Straw Hats show up, they're like, oh, who are these nobodies? We've never... what, 30 million berries? You're nothing. Even though they have,
bounties, they're still, like, nobody's in this corner of the world, and which is something I definitely want to bring up later. So I will say that, like, the quote-unquote mysterious guy, like, especially the doctor, he's, like, they talk about fate a lot, and I noticed, I feel like that's setting up to something, because fate, again, goes back to Logtown, so it's definitely an idea, but, anyway, yeah, you have the Sarkis being a dick about the bounties, and, God, there's, these fuckers are so hateable, like, he's like, oh, here, have some money and buy some real clothes, and then, of course, later, these two guys are just fucks, and I hate them, but they're supposed to be hated, so they're great. Oh, man. So, yeah, anyway, did you have anything more to say about the entrance into Mock Town on Jaya, or? Well,
yeah, now that I'm looking back through these chapters, I like all the crew that shows up later in this stretch of chapters. Like, now I'm noticing, like, as I'm going back, what seem like just random sort of appearances, like they are actually the members of the crew who show up later, like the guy with the apples. Like, who's this weirdo?
Every little thing!
Yeah, because they just kind of seem like weird townsfolk, and it's like, okay, this is a character, all right.
Yep. But now it's like, oh no, he's a friend to the guy we're just about to meet, and I gotta say, like, this arc, Skypiea, has a lot of great stuff, but like, I really love Luffy interacting with Blackbeard, because it's just like. This is how this is a man who, like, he overturned this country, he killed a crewmate of Whitebeard, who's, as we find out, is the strongest pirate in the world, and this is how he gets introduced. Arguing with Luffy, and about to go to blows with him over fucking food. I love it.
Yeah, I like how
much.
I was gonna make a joke, like, because when he had first showed up and he just was kind of there and then left, and I was like, oh, this guy's probably important. And I was like, wow, I can't believe Blackbeard just showed up out of nowhere, and then he actually turned out to be Blackbeard. And I was like, oh, okay.
So you joked that he was Blackbeard in your head, and then he turned out to actually be Blackbeard? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, because, like, he had, like, the black beard and the black hair, so I was like, oh, it's Blackbeard. And it was.
That's amazing. I love that. Holy shit. See, I'm so glad you're reading it for the first time. That's the funniest thing. Holy shit.
Just because they had dropped the name Blackbeard before, so I was like, oh,
yes.
okay, well, hey, maybe this is him. Oh, wait.
Yeah, you called it. Oh, man. But yeah, it's like, I just find him interesting because, like, obviously he's, like, the opposite of Luffy in some ways. Like, oh, he likes the drink, or Luffy liked the drink, and he hated the drink. You know, and with the pies, it's vice versa. But at the same time, they're still similar, like how it ends with, you know, a man's dream never dies. You know, that's something that, like Luffy, it makes Luffy think of, like, Ace and Shanks, and, like the vibes that he's getting off this guy. Yet he's also, like, a bad dude from everything we've seen so far. So it's like, So, like, you know, there's things that have been resolved in One Piece and things that haven't. I will say that, like, Blackbeard is legitimate. Like, I want to see more of him than I do, like, Dragon, Shanks. I want to see more of Blackbeard. He's the one thing I'm the most interested in going forward, is what I'll say. So, I think part of it, like, that's why I like the introduction, just because I'm really interested in Blackbeard. So, oh man, it's just so fun reading it. For me at least.
That's right, you just reminded me of Dragon, too, because we haven't seen him since, like, Logtown.
We saw him in the flashback on Drum,
yeah, in the flashback.
But not in person. Not in person, yeah.
But, like, he was introduced, like, 100 chapters ago, and we still don't know what he's up to.
Yeah, so, oh, man. So, anyway, did you have anything more to say on Blackbeard, or shall we move on to Bellamy the Hyena?
I thought Bellamy kind of had an interesting design, because, like, he gets all the panels where he's, like, cast in shadow, as Oda tends to do.
And he's doing, cool, he likes to laugh with his tongue out and stuff, yeah.
But I think it's sort of interesting that, like, his face seems smaller than some of the other characters. I don't know how to describe it. Maybe it's just
maybe
the scar.
It's the eyes. Maybe it's the more pronounced nose.
He looks just kind of like he looks like he kind of has like a childish face, and I don't know. That just stood out to me. But then like later in this stretch of chapters, his face seems to kind of seems to change a bit and look a little less childish. So I don't know. But I thought I don't know. He had an interesting design, even though he's just kind of I don't know. He's not really a big player.
No, he's not. He thinks he is, but he's not. Oh, man. So, yeah, what did you think about the bar scene of Bellamy just beating the fucking shit out of Luffy and Zoro? Or just anything about this in general? Or go on?
I did think it was interesting that, because obviously Nami had said, hey, you're not going to fight in this town, and so then they don't fight. But I thought it was interesting how Nami, turned it around. She's like, just fight them.
Yes.
And they still don't. And I'm not entirely sure. Like, Zoro kind of elaborates on it later, but, like, I'm not entirely sure why they just take
I'll be glad to explain, but go ahead. I want you to give your other thoughts on the bar fight.
But, I mean, because obviously Zoro doesn't fight because Luffy tells him not to, I think. Yeah. Because Zoro just follows Luffy's orders, because that's Zoro. Mm-hmm.
Well, okay, so...
it was also interesting because you get the mention of Sky Island, and everyone's just like, you're fools, and that's... we'll meet a character later who... I don't know, these are good just, like, schoolyard bullies, is how I describe them, although not at a school, but you get the idea.
No, of course, yeah.
They're just a bunch of scrubs, and they get wrecked later.
They think they're hot shit, but they ain't. Because, anyway, I guess to break down this scene is, like... The one part I really like is, like, Nami asks about the Sky Island, and everyone laughs. And Nami blushes. And why, because after they laugh, she says, like, the log post is pointing straight up. And they're like, ha, they break all the time. And that's when Nami blushes. And that's really neat, because that's what Nami said at first. The log pose is broken, and Robin's like, no, it's not. And
yeah,
see,
but
that's the... go on.
Well, yeah, because she trusted Robin, because Robin said to always trust the log pose.
Right, and that's... well, basically the whole, especially even going forward, the whole, like, Jaya and Skypiea are basically a conversation between, like, faith and faithlessness. Like, God gets mentioned, so obviously faith is a big deal. So, but what Bellamy is doubt. He's just pure faithlessness. Like, he does not believe in the Sky Island at all. He doesn't care. Like, but he also doesn't care. Like, there's no doubt in him either. Like, he's not doubting himself, or like maybe it is real. And that's where this arc becomes Nami's, because like Luffy wants to find it. You know, he wants to see it and see if it's there. So like, you know, but Nami, she's rational. She's logical. How can an island just float in the sky? It doesn't make sense. So she's actually, that's why I think she blushes is because like they said the same thing that she did. So she's closer to them than Luffy is what the thing is. So like she's blushing because she agrees. It's fucking stupid, but at the same time she's not being so faithless as to just not do anything, because that's the thing with Bellamy is he's destructive. He's not going forward, he's just stopping others because he's a bitch. But Nami, even though she doubts, even though she knows it's illogical, she's still going to try and challenge that. And that's, you know, she decides to go to the Sky Island. And, but as for Luffy, it's like, Luffy doesn't care about what Bellamy thinks. Bellamy is like a complete non-issue. So, like, that's why he doesn't fight, because, like, the fight is about the Sky Island. Like, what, does it exist or not? How is beating Bellamy going to, like, prove it exists or not? Like, it doesn't matter. So it's like, why fight, basically? So that's why Luffy doesn't fight, because it doesn't matter. So that was my take on it. So
okay, yeah, that makes sense. Obviously, I didn't notice like the faith subtext, but that makes sense. Yeah,
definitely think about that going forward, because there's more layers to it, because there's like again the thing, well, because like the way I see it, it's like I realized this at work yesterday, is that Bellamy and Luffy are kind of opposites, because like what Bellamy is doing is he's like, oh yeah, the ship fell because of the knock upstream, you know, like but like we know Luffy calls it as he sees it, you know, like he hears about the Sky Island and he wants to see it. But Bellamy, he's like the opposite in that like he just takes like the bounties at complete face value, and that, or what he see or you know, he doesn't see the Sky Island, so it can't be real. Oh yeah, but the bounty. So he's like the opposite of some ways in like what, like he has too much faith in the bounties. And then, of course, like, you know, he thinks Luffy's weak, so when he sees the fake bounty, like, oh, I've seen fake bounty posters. Yeah, Luffy's is probably fake, too. Like, so...
See, that is sort of interesting, then, because if you're talking about faith, like, he puts his faith in the bounties, supposedly, but then later when he sees a real bounty, he's like, oh, that's fake.
Yeah, he's just, so, like, he's not willing to question himself. He's just, like, once he gets a preconception, he sticks with it. Whereas with Luffy, he just always calls it as he sees it, so there's no preconceptions in the first place. So they're kind of opposite, like I said, they're the opposite in that way, and it's cool. It's good. Bellamy's good. Like, it's interesting how like this one note, or not, maybe not one note, but this like scrub of a villain who's basically there to just be an asshole is like also like really interesting in contrast to Luffy. So it's good stuff. I like it. I think that was all I had to say about the bar scene.
Then of course you do also get the quote saying that like, oh, this is a new age of pirates. The age of, you know, these pipe dreams are over. But then obviously, Luffy is like the personification of like having not the, because there are a lot of characters who have big dreams like that. Like, obviously now we know he's Blackbeard, the guy who just kind of after the scene, he sees them and he's like, yeah, you didn't fight those guys because they're weaklings. Don't waste time on weaklings,
you guys
blah, blah,
won.
blah. Dreams are real.
And then of course he says people's dreams don't ever end, you know, like that's what, like, I think the Gold Roger quote on Logtown also mentions people's dreams. So it's like,
yeah,
this is the character, like, at the time unnamed, now known to be Blackbeard. It's like, this is the character agreeing with the strongest pirates in the world. So it's like, Bellamy is wrong. Like, he says, like, Luffy is the type of pirate, not the type of pirate who will survive. But really it's Bellamy, because, like, how is a pirate with no ideals or desires going to actually accomplish anything? Like, he's, you know, so that's how I see it.
Yeah, just the way that it did, because this guy definitely did give me like the Gold Roger, is that his name? It definitely did give me well, the guy who appears here gave me vibes of the the guy with the treasure, the guy from Logtown, the Gold Roger.
Yeah, the guy who was executed at the. Oh,
yeah,
he was the pirate king, right?
Yeah, so like even if this guy didn't even end up being Blackbeard, and I was wrong with my little joke guess, it was kind of obvious this guy would be sort of important, because I mean, when you get this full page spread of that quote, like, "People's dreams don't ever end,"
right?
Like,
and well,
that you don't just. I mean, maybe somebody would do that with like just a minor character, just to, I don't know, really hammer home that like, oh, it's blah. But this is Oda. That doesn't.
Yeah, he's definitely presented with importance, like. Because I guess to kind of spoil my thoughts on Blackbeard is, like, I'm pretty certain he's going to be the final boss of the series. Like, this is the Yuabak, the Kaguya. No, not Kaguya. Madara is the real, like, no, fuck. Like, I mean, there are other candidates, so I'm not, like, and the story isn't over, so it could be wrong. But Blackbeard's the one, like look at this page, look at this 2-page spread and tell me, like, Blackbeard's on one side, Luffy's on the other. It's, like... This is, like, the most important, like, antagonist, like, I would say that this is most important future antagonist that's been built up so far in a couple, in this way. It's, like, it's just my personal feelings, but, like, oh, man. So, I don't know if that's why I want to see more of Blackbeard, because I think he's interesting, okay? So, yeah.
See, and that is interesting that you drew the comparison to, like, Yuabak or, you know, even a Madara. Well, like, I guess it's a little different with Madara and Kaguya because, like, Madara doesn't literally just appear at the last minute. He has a decent amount of foreshadowing, even if his on-screen appearance is kind of late.
I kind of consider
Yuabak,
Madara, like...
we never hear of him until the very last arc.
No, not at all.
But
like...
See, like, I do expect that out of... Like, I guess that's one thing I kind of would expect out of Oda is that whoever the final boss will be, it's someone who will have, you know, had that on-screen presence, will have had that kind of foreshadowing.
Like, they're not going to get to the final island and, oh yeah, this is the final boss. Like, no, that's not going to happen. It's Oda. So,
like, I'm not even sure if I could say that of, like, Togashi. Like, I'm not entirely sure what his direction with Hunter x Hunter will be.
We have no idea where Hunter x Hunter is going, which is interesting, but it's also, like, the thing is, like, I like Hunter x Hunter, and it's probably my second favorite shonen series, but I remember someone asked me if, like, which I'm more excited to end, and I'm way more excited for One Piece to end, because it's like, there's so much setup here I want to see paid off. With Hunter x Hunter, like,
I thought you were going to say you were way more excited for Hunter x Hunter to end because you don't want One Piece to end.
Oh, that's true, because when One Piece ends, you're going to want to fucking die. But, like, looking forward to Hunter x Hunter, like, it could go anywhere, and that's cool, but it doesn't make me excited, you know? Like, I want to see where it goes, but there's nothing specific to be excited for. Whereas with One Piece, it's like, oh, I want to see more Dragon. Oh, I want to see more Shanks. Oh, I want to see more Blackbeard. Like, there's expectations that he's built, and he's delivered on other expectations. Which is why I trust him as an author, but, like, yeah, so... But you're right, I don't want One Piece to end, but I also want it to end, so... Oh, man.
See, like, there are certain characters in Hunter x Hunter that I could maybe say could serve as some sort of an end game, but this isn't the Hunter x Hunter podcast now, even if it is called the Nen Show. We're talking One Piece.
And there's also, like, just, like, what Hunter x Hunter's only just getting to 400 chapters after 20 years. So yeah, it's like the hiatuses are like we're getting to 400 chapters of One Piece in just a couple episodes from now. So yeah, just throwing that out there. Hiatus x hiatus. Oh man.
So thank you for joining us for this edition of the Nen Show. I also do think it was like you did talk a little about Nami earlier, and I do think it's interesting that she's like Bellamy says like, hey, or not Bellamy, but it's his henchman guy. Mm-hmm. He's like, hey, you know, I'll buy you from that crew, and she's like, I'm not interested in joining a bunch of
third-rate pirates.
I'm not interested in joining
like that, or
she's like, I'm not interested in joining your gang. So like, I don't know, more trust. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, and I also like how she's like, even though she doesn't understand why Luffy's doing this, she still trusts him. You know, like he's still the Luffy who defeated Arlong and Crocodile. You know, like that's not gonna suddenly change just because he lost a fight. Like she, you know, because she doesn't really she doesn't understand why they did that. Like again, because she's closer to Bellamy's side of the perspective than she is Luffy's, is how I see it. So, yeah. Also, one thing I forgot to mention earlier, but like, so after that we see Sanjin is like, I better check on my seagull soup. Like, he cooked the seagulls that the one Blackbeard pirate shot. Though I also forgot to mention it earlier. Like, again, good gags. Like, this is a small one, but it's like there's the octopus that's like stuck to Zoro, and then they bring it up from the salvage, and then Luffy and everyone are eating takoyaki, which is an octopus dish.
I thought when they were talking about I thought that was because they were talking about like octopus fritters, and I thought that was a reference to
the Hachi cover story.
Yeah.
Or something else.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, the Hachi cover story because that he had the octopus fritter shop. So I was like, I thought it was funny because you had said before that like not all these cover arcs get integrated into the story later, but yeah, like so far like 4 of the 5 or 3 of the 4, however many we've had, like. We saw Django come back. We saw
Buggy come back. We saw Kobe come back
come
in another cover story, but he hasn't come back into the story yet, if at all. So.
Yeah. Kobe is the only one who hasn't yet, like actually returned in the narrative.
Mm-hmm. Right, and of course now Hachi, because I guess we can mention that. Like, I just wanted to point out that because it's a pretty small gag, because like there's an octopus and then they're just eating takoyaki, and it's like
like it just happens in the background of like dialogue building up the rest of the arc, but like it just happens, and like I'm reading these pages and I'm like, Oda, you motherfucker.
Like, and yeah, when you point it like when you mention it like that, it is good because it's like, yeah, this is exposition, but while you're getting this exposition, you're getting like a completely commented upon just joke gag with the background octopus and his eventual fates, and it's just like, yeah, it's a nice way to make like it's not connected to the exposition scene at all, but it makes it a bit more enjoyable to engage in, you could say, if you because you're like, wait a minute, oh my god, they just ate it. Oh man. So, and then later on, there's the skyfish, which it's not like a subtle background thing, but they were like examining the skyfish, like, oh, this is neat, and it's like, I sauteed it, and it's like, they keep eating just random shit they find. But it also, now I think about it, makes sense. It's Sanji, of course. He doesn't waste food. Like, yeah, some seagulls just got shot. What's he gonna do? Throw them in the ocean? Nah, he's gonna cook them. I didn't think about it like that.
Oh, shit. You're right.
So anyway, Nami gets back to the ship. She's fucking pissed. Like, you sent me the panel of where Chopper's like, did you find out anything about Skypiea? And Nami's just like, Skypiea? Poor Chopper. He was just trying to be nice and get involved in the conversation, and Nami's just bullying him. And of course Robin comes in, and she's the only one who got stuff done because she's Robin. Oh yeah, then they run into the other monkey, Shoujo, and I don't think there's much else to say here. Just more gags and stuff, weirdness, as they work their way to cricket. There's a popularity poll though. Did you want to say anything else about?
This popularity poll was interesting.
Okay, yeah, well I guess we'll skip the popularity because I don't think I have anything specific to say. It's just more build up, but yeah, popularity poll.
No. There was one thing I wanted to say about this popularity poll. Johnny is on there. Johnny at number 18.
That's pretty fucking high for a fucking.
What's distinct about Johnny as opposed to like Yosaku? Like, I'm looking at other characters like Karu. Karu. Why is Karu not in the top 20?
Right?
Like Karu was. Karu
I mean, he's pretty close considering, like, he's above Gin, he's above Kureha, like, well, because the thing about popular polls is, like, I think I mentioned this before, but it's, like, characters who've done things recently always rank higher. So, like, you have, Mr. 2 and Vivi towards the top. You have a lot of Baroque's Works characters in the top 20 and hovering around the top 20. Like, interesting, like, Ben Beckman's fallen a lot. Yeah. I think he was, like, top 10 or top 5 before, but now he's 17, so.
I just think I just find it interesting that 216 people voted for Johnny, and I don't even see Yosaku on the other page.
No one cares about.
And I'm like,
but
why?
Like, the only different.
Like, what was distinct about
Johnny
this one?
didn't get scurvy, and his design is a little cooler. Like, he doesn't have Yosaku's dumb hat. Like, that's it. That's the difference between like 200 votes. A cooler design and less suffering at the expense of the viewer, or at the expense of the character for the viewer, rather. I guess.
And the other thing I do think is interesting about this popularity poll is that Shanks is still there at number 7. He's still in the top 10, even though he only appeared. Okay, he appeared in chapter 1, and then he has had a couple of appearances.
He had a shadowed appearance after Logtown, and I think this stretch of chapters is his first actual like full blown appearance since then, pretty much. So, yeah, like he hasn't done anything. He's still like right under Usopp.
Yeah, because you do want to like talk about like the recency bias, but like not with Shanks. Like he's there.
Yep. Ace did really well. For of course.
Yeah.
I'm actually kind of surprised that Mr. 2's popular. Maybe it's because of the ending, though there is a pretty big gap between Mr. 2 and Ace now looking at it. Like, there's, like, some huge jumps, like, between Sanji and Chopper.
Yeah, like, between Sanji and Chopper is, like, 5,000.
Yeah, like, so, in other words, like, the Monster Trio is, like, notably the most popular characters by a good chunk. Like, damn. So, yeah. Oh, yeah, actually, damn. Okay, yeah, out of 51,000 votes... those three alone were 30. Those three alone got more than half the votes. Like 3 out of 5 of the votes were for just one of those 3 characters. Goddamn. Yep. And of course, like you don't get the full on like joke votes like you do with Bleach, which is always great. But they did point out that Minamoto the Carpenter did get 51, an SBS character. So even Oda has his own votes, because I guess like in the SBS Oda is a character in a way, like he does his own like gags and stuff, so yeah. I mean maybe he does act like that in real life, I don't know, but yeah.
Where are the votes for Drunk Sam? Where's Drunk
the real
Sam?
MVP?
Also I see Panda Man in the popularity polls. I have a little something to say about Panda Man later.
Oh, did you notice one? Or
well, yeah, I did notice a couple, but there's one in particular that really grabbed my eye, but I'll wait till we get to it. That's fine, because
I never noticed Panda Man. I'm usually just actually like reading the series, and I've read it so many times, I just kind of like, I you know, I know what's happening. I don't so, anyway, finally moving on to the story. They go to the other side of Jaya and meet and get to Cricket's house, and I guess like, well, because
also, notable line of dialogue before you jump ahead. The Merry Go's part of the crew.
Yes.
The ship is part of the crew. This is gonna... I know that's a thing later, is that the ship is a big thing.
You know it already. Okay.
Well, I don't know what happens. I just know that the ship is important.
Yes, the Merry Go is very important, and it's a good ship. Do not bully the Merry Go. Even though it gets bullied all the time, like I'm just like looking at this one panel of them coming, and you see the metal around Mary's neck where its head broke off because it ran into Laboon, and of course the mast.
I mean,
like,
there's all these holes. Like it is falling apart, but they are so dedicated to this ship.
Oh, like actually, like looking at this
even
first
the ship
panel,
is getting characterization. What the heck?
Before like when they're looking at the big palace, like you can see 2 patch marks on the back of the ship. I presume would be from Hina's spears. Like this fucking ship has seen a lot. The poor ship. Oh man, and of course Wapol ate a good chunk of it off. But anyway, I was gonna say about like this, like the castle is like the least normal looking thing, but it's like fake too, which I thought was kind of interesting. Like this island is like very toned down when you think about the Grand Line. Like the characters on it are still weird as fuck, like all the Blackbeard pirates and Shoujo and Masura. Like, but the actual location is very normal. Like you could place this island in the East Blue, and you'd be like, yeah. Okay, but if you placed...
Yeah, it does feel very East
Yes,
Blue.
But if you put Little Garden in East Blue, you'd be like, okay, what the fuck? You know, so... I mean, that said, like, Alabasta is just a desert, but even then, like, the fact that it's a desert island is kind of weird, I guess, you know, maybe, I don't know. So anyway, we get more setup stuff, you know, they snoop around the house.
This pirate has... There's gold around. Chopper, dig, find the gold. Chopper, stop making noise, be quiet.
Poor Chopper. He trusts them all so much, but he gets all this conflicting advice. So yeah, then we get the story of Noland the Liar. Sanji randomly mentions that he's from the North Blue. All
right, so yeah, on this topic of oh wait, never mind, we didn't get the full on story. Well, okay, we've brought up Noland the Liar.
We know the story.
I'm going to talk about Panda Man.
Go on.
Because when we do get the full story, which now I can't find it, I'm flipping through pages and I can't find it, but there's this one shot in like the first panel of the introduction of the story. God dang it, where is it? I can't find it, but I know it's there. And like it's a different art style and it's really cool. But in the little panel where like Noland is talking to this crowd of people, in that crowd of people is Panda Man. So let's talk about Panda Man. Is Panda Man immortal? Because like this story took place like 400 years ago, and it's true. And Panda Man is there, and Panda Man is still around in the present day. So like, is Panda Man immortal?
No, it's like One for All. It's a title. It gets passed down from one Panda Man to the next to exist in the background forevermore. No, I don't know.
The lore of Panda Man.
I didn't notice him in there. That's funny. Because he definitely, I'm pretty sure he's appeared in flashbacks, and so yeah, like he's that.
Whenever there's like a big crowd shot now, I always have to like try to look for Panda Man. Like that's immediately what I did when when it went to the Nolan flashback. I was like, okay, Panda Man. I see a crowd. Panda Man's got to be in there somewhere, and sure enough, Panda Man was there.
That's great. See, I just never bother looking for him, but he's always.
Oh god dang it! That's why I couldn't find the page because I had already gone past it and I was looking ahead. Not
but
backwards.
I can only always be comforted in the thought that Panda Man is with us always. And this is becoming a cult. I'm gonna stop. The Panda Man cult.
Yeah, you've got
talking about
Nolan
faith.
standing on the log, and then there's like a person to the left of him, and then like the second person there in the back. There's a little guy with panda ears and a panda face.
Oh, I just realized.
And that's the story of Nolan the Liar, Panda Man.
There's a guy next to Nolan with a straw hat, like right in front of him.
Luffy.
It's Luffy with a shaved head. But yep, we get the story of Noland the Liar. He's a liar boy. He was like, "Hey, let's go to this gold city. Haha, just pranked you, bro. Everyone fucking died."
Yeah. That reminds me of those like children's stories that like over time have gotten like toned down, but the thing is that like they're always like these weirdly not bizarre, but like I don't know, they're violent or whatever. Like they have these weird endings.
Grimm's fairy tales,
and it's like, oh yeah, it was a funny little joke. 1,900 soldiers died in the travel, but it's fine because Nolan's the liar, and like this is a children's story. Yeah. It's just it's interesting, like harkening back to those like. I can't think of any examples off the top of my head, but I know there's stuff. Mm-hmm. I also do like the little commentary that Nami adds about the story of the liar. Like, oh, the liar died without ever becoming a brave warrior of the sea. Turns and looks at Usopp.
Oh, man. That's good. You're right. That is good. So yeah, then, Nolan, or Mont Blanc, Cricket comes. Nolan is the old one. Cricket is the new one. They're both Mont Blanc. Okay, Cricket comes in. I love how he's like fighting Sanji like hand to hand for a bit, and he just pulls out a gun. He's like, okay, fuck this. Like,
yeah. I also like the introduction that like Luffy's just staring at the water and then just seems to fall in, and it's like, what?
Yep.
Luffy.
You fucked up, Luffy. No.
Also, I like it gets super serious for a moment when this Cricket guy shows up. Like Luffy falls in the water and Sanji looks all pissed, and he's like, okay, we're getting serious here. But it's just like a little tiny
because
exchange.
It just passes the fuck out, and then they start. Well, I love how they didn't translate it quite accurately to the gag, which we get a few more times this arc. But like, they explain, air or how surfacing too quickly hurts, is bad for your body, and Luffy's just like, it's a mystery phenomenon. It
must be an unnatural phenomenon.
Normally he just says it's a mystery, so he's just doing his thing where he doesn't understand. And I guess this arc does have more like exploration and mystery and stuff. So so you get more moments of Luffy doing that, I suppose, because it happens again later.
No, but I like how you get that, and then later, when they're actually explaining a thing, Luffy's like, so it's a mystery, and then Cricket's like, yes, it's a mystery, and Chopper's like, you're so smart, Luffy.
That was a good iteration on the running gag. So yeah, and of course, Shoujo and Masho come in. They're bros. Luffy just gets along with them because they're all monkeys. They're a bunch of doofuses. Oh yeah, and then we find out the alternate perspective that Noland wasn't a liar, and that's what Cricket's looking for. He's looking for the actual island and suspects that it actually didn't go under the sea, but it went into the sky. Hold on, I think I had some notes on Mont Blanc Cricket for 1 second. Oh yeah, because I guess it does tie back into the fate thing, but also the inherited will, because you have like Cricket, he comes to this island, like he's talking about how like his ancestors tried to get to Jaya, but none of them made it, and then Cricket was like, fuck that, I'm gonna become a pirate, but then he makes it to Jaya anyway, so he's just like, you know what, okay, fine, be that way. Like he kind of accepts his fate and inherits Nolan's will to find the island, sort of anyway, like tying back to some older ideas, but I hadn't noticed that before. Thought it was neat. And there was one interesting interaction here, because like you can kind of compare Nami and Usopp a bit, because they're both like afraid of going to the Sky Island, or they're both a bit like skeptical of it, but it's like Nami is skeptical of it because she doesn't think it makes sense, but Usopp's skeptical, like he's just afraid, like he doesn't, like that's kind of what he argues with Nolan or Cricket about, because he's like, isn't this all so convenient? Like, yeah, it's convenient, who cares? but like Usopp's just afraid of going, and but again, like Nami said, he needs to become a brave warrior of the sea and not a liar. So, just a neat little character bit here.
Usopp do as Usopp do.
Though there's we'll talk. I had something to bring up later, but I don't know, just good. Set up more good character interaction. It's good. The parties.
I like this little piece of foreshadowing when Nami's looking at the log of Noland, and she's like, "Oh, it's a one-man boat called a waver. How cool! I want one." And then later on,
she gets one.
They get to the
She's a master of that shit. Yep. Well, yeah, that's like. Because, I don't know, the kind of the way I see it is, like, she is the doubter. Like, in an arc that has a conversation between, like, faith and faithlessness, especially, like, with later on, Nami's sort of in the middle, and she gets rewarded for that. Because when they get to the Sky Island, she's, like, the master of the waver. Like, so it's, like, there's more to it, of course, because there's more of the arc to go. And so, yeah, I know you've liked Nami's character up to this point. Like, have you been able to, like, rank the Straw Hats? Like, talk about, like, something difficult? I was just wondering... I forget if we talked about it last time, but there's more of the series to go, so never mind. Did you have anything more to say about the cricket interaction before they were sent off into the woods with just the parties and the Southbird? Or
I don't know, just as like another funny joke. It's interesting when cricket is like, everything that I'm saying is just hearsay. It's up to you whether you believe it or not. And Luffy just immediately is like, I believe it, even though he hasn't said anything, because it's Luffy.
Yep. But yeah, they get sent off on a bird hunt because I like how it's like, the Straw Hats need to get away so Bellamy can come in and fuck shit up. But it's also done in a way that makes sense with the rules of the Grand Line. They need to go south. The log pose doesn't point south. It doesn't point anywhere. So that it was a nice organic way to do something. And then you just get a bunch of goofiness in the forest. Like, it's funny. I saw this pointed out recently, and I was like, oh yeah, that is weird. Usopp is not afraid of this giant tarantula. Like, he's afraid of so much, but this bug is cool, and he's Usopp's friend now. Like, Nami and Sanji, like one of the strongest in the crew, is afraid of it, but not Usopp.
But not Usopp.
Thought that was funny.
I did think it was interesting that we had this tiny little forest, like, not mission, but like there was this tiny little thing in the forest. I thought maybe it was gonna, like, last a little longer because the way like Oda split them into teams and like there were all these different creatures. I was like, oh, are we gonna get like a tiny little not arc, but like are we gonna get a tiny little exchange here in the woods? But I mean, it doesn't last all that long.
Also, Oda just ripped off the forest to death to prove me wrong. No, I don't know which. I don't actually know which came first. Now I think about it, I would assume no. I have no idea.
Well, because this is what 2002. Yes. I mean, unless the chapters are being published in 2001. I'm just looking at the volume release.
Well, I think Pell's death happened around 2001, so this would have been 2002. But I don't remember when the Naruto one was, so.
I don't recall I was going to say, I don't really recall the tuning exams having many exotic, not exotic, but many creatures in there other than like the bugs.
I was just like, hey, forest with a bunch of monstrous bugs. Wait a minute, we've read this on the Nen Show before. It doesn't matter.
But then Bellamy shows up, so forget the forest, because Bellamy the hyena's here.
Yep, and this is where, like, because I talked about before, like, what, Luffy didn't want to fight Bellamy because, like, it didn't matter with the Sky Island, but this time, like, Bellamy's getting in their way. He broke the ship. He stole the Cricket's gold, which was kind of the symbol of his desire to see the Sky Island. Like, it was evidence of the Sky Island. And now that Bellamy's, interfering, he's actually, like, a detriment that's worth fighting, even if it's just briefly.
Yeah, I thought Bellamy's devil fruit was kind of interesting in that it wasn't interesting because like he's just a spring, I was thinking like, okay, so that's like a weaker version of Luffy's devil fruit because Luffy can do that too, but he's rubber and he can do more things.
I guess like Bellamy's fruit allows him to do it without like because when Luffy like he did his he's jumped and stuff like but Bellamy can like rebound in a different way, but like his power definitely has a lot of like creative potential, but Bellamy hasn't really used a lot of it, so which is fine. He's a small character, so I'm not how much of his fruit is gonna, like, that's the thing about Luffy, is like he's been with us for fucking hundreds of chapters, so like of course we're gonna see a lot of, you know, nuance to his abilities and how he works and how he, you know, iterates on them.
Yeah, I guess I just meant that it was like, not that it inherently had lesser potential, but that the way it's portrayed,
that's my
isn't
point. It's
all
like,
that.
because like we saw with Crocodile, is like how a devil fruit user can, you know, how they use their fruit is what matters, you know. And like, because Crocodile was doing things that we've seen no other devil fruit user do. And Bellamy's just kind of like, I'm just going to bounce around, woo! And it's like, okay, this is why you got one shot, Bellamy. But yeah, so Luffy decides to go get the gold back. Bellamy's crew...
And they caught the bird. They did catch... I liked how they caught the bird, where it's just... Of course, it's Robin.
The only competent one on the
being
crew.
Being the most useful again.
For anything that isn't just a fight. Like, they're, like, completely useless as catching this one bird, but Robin's just like, boom, got it. Like, information gathering, archaeology, bird grabbing. Robin's just got it all. So anyway, and then, Ranimal Drunk finds Luffy and Zoro's bounty posters, and these aren't real. There was nothing in the news about them. Which is just, like, bounties don't... Like, bounties aren't strength. Luffy beat Crocodile when he had a 30 million bounty. And I think it was mentioned in the SBS, because I definitely want to talk about this later, or maybe it was in, I think it was the SBS, but if the world government knew that Crocodile was Mr. Zero, then he would have had his warlord status revoked, and his bounty would have been, like, at least doubled. Like, so in other words, like, Luffy's bounty of, like, 100 million, if you say that as, like, stronger than Crocodile or whatever, like, it's still lowballing it, because Crocodile deserved to have a higher bounty, because that's how bounties work, is, like, they're threat to the government, basically, and Crocodile was more of a threat to government as Mr. Zero than they knew, so, yeah, it's like, Bellamy's putting so much fucking faith in an arbitrary number, is the point. It's like, bounties aren't power levels. And here Bellamy's like, oh, the scouter only said 30. He's nothing. Oh, shit. I just got defeated. It doesn't matter. So, yeah. Bellamy's a dork. Did you have anything to say about their fight? Because I feel like we've already talked about, like, you know, what their conflict means.
Yeah, Bellamy bounces around and Luffy punches him.
It's a really good punch, though.
No, yeah, you get the full page spread.
And just the fucking fist indentation on Bellamy's face. It's just like... God damn.
Yeah, that was good.
And it's also satisfying because Bellamy is such a fucking cunt. So finally see him just get... Cause it's not just like that he got beaten. It's that he got beaten so easily. Like, Luffy's like Bellamy's like an East Blue tier foe, and Luffy's serious now, though. That's because, as I've mentioned before, when Luffy fights serious against a weaker foe, like Kuro or Arlong, it ends pretty quickly. And this is like that in one punch, in a single exchange. So, but of course, like, he gets the gold, and, you know, he doesn't care about the other guys. They're going to the fucking sky. And like you mentioned earlier, Zoro's, like, he didn't want to fight because, like, you know, beating a foe and just pitting them after is just heartbreaking, you know? Like, it's like, you know, what a waste, so to speak. So, did you have anything else to say on Jaya? Or, because there's a bit more to go back to, but before that, we get some
Yeah, this is when things start
okay, so you
crazy.
just want to move on. I understand. It's exciting.
Yeah, because we get to see the return of Buggy. And I was wondering when they'd come back, because the last time we saw them was Logtown, and they were like, we're also going to the Grand Line.
And now
we see them on the Grand Line.
They're looking for the treasure of Captain John, which is like the most normal name a pirate can have. John. I didn't think... well, it's probably John in Japanese. Because, like, the thing about... I think I've mentioned this before... But, like, maybe I have, but it's, like, with names is, because I remember it from Fairy Tail, like, there's a main character called Lucy, and the author chose that name, he mentioned in the end of one of the volumes, because it sounds foreign, and it's, like, to Westerners, it's a really normal name, but to Japanese, it's very, very, it's foreign, so John is kind of the same way, like, to me, it's, like, I'm American, it's, like, one of the most common names in the country, but to a Japanese person, it's, like, John,
that's what I was thinking, that's what I was thinking, because, like, in this One Piece world or everything, I mean, like, of course there's the language thing if you're from Japan, but, like, this One Piece world, which is so wacky and cartoony that, like, to have a character who is just named John, who has such a normal name, that in itself is sort of abstract and odd, because it's, you know, it's the regular thing in the wacky
Yeah.
world, and that makes it wacky in the context of that world.
Right, because names in One Piece go all, like, there's a character later called, he's just a Marine, he's called Strawberry, like, not Ichigo, just literally Strawberry, and it's like, oh, okay, yeah, sure. And...
Oda ripping off ripping off Bleach, my god.
Oh, man. But, so...
Oda ripping off One Piece? How is that even possible?
Copy-paste himself. So yeah, the Buggy Pirates they're gonna go after Luffy eventually. His bounty will get higher, it's fine. And then there's like, oh hey, it's Ace, the Whitebeard pirate. He's just partying. Like, I know you probably saw him, and if you saw the crowd shot, you were probably looking for Panda Man, so you probably saw Ace, right? Or did you?
Wait, what crowd shot? Which crowd shot in particular?
There's the panel with Alvida, the bigger one, and right above it, there's she's pointing at them partying, and you can see Ace there. With a beer.
Oh my god, no, I didn't, because I wasn't looking for Panda Man there. I only looked for Panda Man in that the Noland thing, just because I was curious.
That's fine.
And yeah, there's Ace. Jesus Christ, Oda.
Yep, and he's just like we're getting, I guess, he goofs off with Buggy, and we get a little interaction with, or build up to, like, Buggy knows not to touch Whitebeard, and because Buggy did say that he'd been on the Grand Line, but now we found out he's actually met Whitebeard. As we find out, is the strongest man in the world, which is that's for all you power scalers out there.
Yeah, I love how, like, Ace, he's someone that clearly Buggy and them do not trust, but they are just like even when Ace like falls asleep and they're like, oh, we should capture this guy, Buggy's like, no, don't you dare, we are not dealing with Whitebeard. So I just think it's interesting that, like, Ace can just kind of show up and do what he wants.
Yeah, the Whitebeard Pirates have a...
So, like, he's just partying with Buggy's crew, and it's like, okay, sure.
Yeah. The Whitebeard Pirates definitely have a freedom. Though also, like, I think another thing I kind of just realized is that Buggy, like, he's got experience. Like, we know he's weak, but he knows the Grand Line. He knows who... Like, a less experienced pirate would have, like, yeah, let's capture Ace. He's got a bounty. We're rich now. Oh, shit. Whitebeard wants to fucking murder us, like, but Buggy knows not to fuck with Whitebeard, like, because he does know the Grand Line, so, like, it makes sense that he's able to, like, traverse the Grand Line, because he does have that knowledge base. He knows, what fights, because he also has his Buggy Balls, which are actually still pretty strong. Like, we haven't seen, like fire, like, Ace's Devil Fruit has that firepower, but again, he's on the crew of the strongest person in the world, so, that makes sense. But yeah. Like from what I'm just saying, what we've seen in the world, but it makes sense that Buggy can traverse it even though he's weaker. Because he's got attributes that help him. So.
Although now that we talk about crowd shots and Panda Man, I see Panda Man again.
Now I want to find him.
Or there's the panel where Buggy's like, "Who the blazes are you?" And then just right next to Ace, way in the background, is Panda Man. I wasn't even looking for him this time. I just happened to have my eyes on the panel.
I see him now. Yep, you're right. And he's like looking shocked for some reason with the Buggy's Pirates. Yep. So anyway, then we get a bunch of character introductions. We get the 5 elders, the lords of the world government. Then we get 2 new warlords of the sea, Doflamingo, Don Quixote Doflamingo, and Bartholomew Kuma. And Doflamingo's are the character.
Yeah, Doflamingo is one of those characters that I had heard of before.
You mentioned him before, and because you when you said best guy ever did a video on him, I know exactly who you're talking about. And here he is. Here's his character. So yep. Though I want to say, because, like, we get their bounties, I think that... Kuma is almost 300, and Doflamingo is over 300, and I mentioned this earlier, because, like, we have Crocodile is beaten, he's a warlord of the sea, how does Luffy sort of fit in the power scale, of the power structure of the world? And what this stretch of chapter, or these couple chapters do, is they lay that out, like, by showing these 2 pirates, they show that, the warlords are not of equal strength, like, Mihawk is... he can still be way stronger than Crocodile. Like, they're just infamous pirates, and with this position, and they're even talking about adding a new one to the group. But and Lafitte asks, mentions Blackbeard, that's the pirate he's bringing up because they ask about the Blackbeard pirates mention Lafitte later, in case you didn't catch that the first time through. Well, I guess I can even actually say, like, point out some things regarding Blackbeard because, like, basically Blackbeard wants the warlord position, as Lafitte is saying here. And, like, that's why he's trying to go after Luffy, because he wants, if he takes down a pirate of X bounty, he gets a bounty himself. That's what, And then the other thing is that's why he was attacking Drum Island, is because he wanted to destroy a kingdom overnight and get a bounty, except Wapol was a little bitch and ran away, so Blackbeard didn't get that infamy he wanted. So that basically explaining why he was there. So, because it's directly explained, I just thought I'd point that out. But yeah, like, the bounties are, I like how, so not only do we know that, but like right after that we see Whitebeard's ship, and you got Rockstar, who's a pirate of Shanks, and he has a bounty close to Luffy's, 94 million, and he's like, yeah, I'm infamous, right? You've heard of me, and the Whitebeard pirate's like, nope. So like, even though Luffy does have he had the biggest bounty in the series so far, on the crew of the strongest man in the world, 100 million isn't a lot. So, just really good, like, expanding the world in a way that, makes sense, and, it doesn't, like, cheapen Luffy's achievements. He's still, like, has a pretty high bounty, but, like, now we're getting a better idea of what that means in the scale of the world. So I thought it was cool. Just wanted to talk about bounties for a bit, because I've been waiting for it to its first since last episode. So yeah, did you have anything to say on all these characters showing up, all this world building, and all this cool stuff?
Well, I guess that's a bit of a spoiler, so I won't say that. But just like Doflamingo appearing, and you get Mihawk coming back, and like you get this big full-page spread of Whitebeard, and he's this mammoth of a man. He's like the size of a building or something. I don't know. He's massive.
He's not a giant, but he's fucking huge. Like, he's literally larger than life. So what were you going to say?
And then the return of red-haired Shanks. Yep. And he's going for Whitebeard.
The government is afraid of them meeting up. So if we had any doubts before, because it was...
Yeah, they said something about, like, the 3 major powers, well, because something Johnny, like that.
Yosaku mentioned... Remember Yosaku mentioned them? So, like, basically, I will say, like, one of the powers is basically the Marines, the other is the Warlords, and the third one has not been mentioned yet. But yeah, but you have Whitebeard and Shanks meeting up. The government is not happy, but, like, the elders were talking about, like, if they meet, So, and of course, Luffy's coming up, so...
Oh, see, for some reason I was thinking that, like, that was something different, like, the 3... powers or whatever were like 3 people, and I was like, Jesus Christ, Yosaku was foreshadowing that way back.
Yeah,
that's not quite the case.
I will say, like, because at the moment there are 6 warlords, and 3 of them were at the meeting, so that means there's 3 that didn't show up, including Jinbei, who was mentioned as a warlord before. So that's 2 unnamed warlords and 3 unseen warlords at this point. Because Crocodile's no longer warlord, but they're trying to fill that spot. So. Why 7 of them? Because 7 is a cool number. Fuck you. No.
Yeah, I did think it was. Well, I mean, like, I guess that's expected of Oda to, like, this is a good way to introduce some of the warlords, but not introduce them all.
Yeah, he's being a little cheeky with not revealing all of them.
Like, you have, like, Doflamingo and Kuma, like, when are they going to be relevant again? I don't know, but here's a good chance to just show that, hey, they exist.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So I will say that, like, right after... So did you have any more thoughts? Or because we're going back to Blackbeard, and I want to mention a pretty notable mistranslation. So I guess going out of that. So anyway, Blackbeard finds Luffy's bounty poster, and he says 100 million. He doesn't look like he was even worth 30 million. This is the complete opposite of what he's actually saying. In the colored translation actually does it correctly. I've seen some other lines from the colored translation. They're not like they go a bit manga stream at times. Like with the Jesus Burgess or the big masked grappler guy. He does in the colored translation. He does a "Do you even lift, bro?" Like he does a fucking meme, and I'm like, okay, colored translation, you need to stop. But they do translate this line correctly. Basically, what he says is he mentions something called haki, Hiki, which is a concept that gets explored upon. Like, this is the first time it's mentioned in the series, and that's why I thought it was notable that they translated it correctly. But basically, what he's saying is,
where are you seeing this? Where does someone mention haki?
They don't in the official translation because they completely mistranslated the line.
Oh.
So, the panel is in the one like right after Luffy is talking to the government or the warlords, and he's Blackbeard saying 100 million. That upper right one on the second page, like that's the panel where he should be mentioning something called haki, because basically what he's saying is that like Luffy felt stronger than 300 million, and 100 million is accurate. So he's like, and But this they translated the opposite, as if he's basically like going like, yeah, Luffy's stronger than his bounty of 30 million. Like, that's why he was questioning the bounty when they were talking to the bar. He's like, 30 million? You seem stronger than 30 million. And he's right, because he's actually 100 million. But yeah, so that's, like I said, there's the how they translated line in the official release is completely opposite of what it's supposed to be according to the colored translation. So I just wanted to specify, like, Blackbeard's not looking down on Luffy. He's like, praising him on some level. Like, yeah, you're strong enough that if I beat you, I can get my position as a warlord, which is what he's looking for. So, he's got it, like he says right at the bottom of that page. I've got a reputation to make. So yeah, just thought I'd mention that. So wait, then
what was the line that was supposed to mention hockey?
Let me just find it. I'll link it to you and I'll show it on the screen. Give me 1 second. What chapter is this?
We are on chapter 234.
There it is, on screen for all to see. The colored manga's translation for it. So yeah, completely opposite takes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I'm more inclined to trust or to trust this one, just knowing the whole series. Why would Blackbeard be looking down on Luffy after seeing him at the bar and seeing his strength of character? Like, it doesn't make sense for him to be shit-talking him like he is in the official translation. And this also makes sense given the mechanic of hockey, which is a thing. So, like, he's obviously, like, judging by his hockey, like, he's alluding to something here. So, yeah. So, yeah, and then we get the big 2-page spread of him and his men, all with names, Doc Q, Van Ogre, and Jesus Burgess. By the way, I will say, like, these chapters have some really fun, really bad initial translations where they fuck up the names a lot, and it's fucking hilarious. I don't want to find them again, but they're around. Just look up like like Zazazu Bazasu or Tajiru Lord Flamingo. It's like that's for Doflamingo. It's like they butcher these names. It's fucking horrible and it's hilarious. Like, I think for Marshall D. Teach, it's Masaru de Choke, and I'm just like, how the fuck did... Like, I think what happened is that they got a Korean or Chinese translation, and then they translated that to English instead of using the original Japanese, so they're like, it's like through two lenses. Like, I think that's what happened, but it's still fucking amazing. Like, I think for Bartholomew Kuma, it's Bisuromi Bear, and it's like, yeah, I mean, it's not wrong, the bear part, but it's also...
Wait, and you said that were these fan translations?
These were fan translations, like really early fan translations, with like really messed up names. So, actually, I'm gonna put the one of them on screen. Actually,
this episode has now become the Craftsdwarf will post things on screen.
Finally, we're returning to this after a long. I think I haven't done this since Bleach, but yeah, look, everyone's favorite character, Tangiado Lofulamingo. Bisoromi.
What?
Like, I'm pretty. I didn't notice, but the Tangiado gives me Chinese vibes for some reason. So yeah, I think this was a Chinese translation. So originally translated from Japanese and then now into English. So
I do think this is especially relevant considering in this, I think it was either this or the next volume's SBS. Oda is talking about like the different languages One Piece is published in, and so like to see. And so now we're seeing that here.
The 7 gods of pirates.
7 gods of pirates.
I definitely the Blackbeard one is also really good. I don't want to find out. I want to get back to discussion though. So yeah, that was the last of the inter-arc world building. Well, see, what I kind of like about it is, I only just realized this, but because it goes through, we see the government, we see the warlords, we see Mihawk, Shanks, Whitebeard. And then it goes to Blackbeard, who's relevant to Whitebeard, but then it does it like it goes back to the arc because Blackbeard's on Jaya, so it like wraps the world building around back to now we know it's Blackbeard, but he's going after Luffy now, so it's like I didn't think about it like that, so that's cool.
Yeah, it's pretty clever.
Yeah. So if you didn't have anything to say about that, Luffy returns to the others. He found a Hercules beetle, and he's like showing up, and I love how like it's drawn where it's like just like faded. It's like a zoom shot in the big panel, and it's like there's like sparkles around it. I don't know, something about it's just funny. He spends so much time. Mary's got a flying mode. and they're off on their adventure. So yeah, they find out about their bounties. Blackbeard gets fucking wrecked by the knockup stream, and they go to the sky. Did you have anything to say about this fun sequence? Because a lot of people really like it, but go on.
No, yeah, it is very fun. Or initially I was a little concerned because I was like, oh wait, I saw that Blackbeard was getting close to the big current. Did they make it up to? But no, obviously it was shown later that they didn't.
Yeah, well, because you see when the current explodes, you see they just get fucking destroyed. Like I think if you look closer, you can see some of their silhouettes in the wreckage. Like I think Van Ogre's still standing on the ship. Like that's some fucking style. Like, oh, the ship's being destroyed around me. I'm just gonna chill. But yeah, they get wrecked. And yeah, it's a cool sequence because like they're using the wind currents as air as they're flying up. It's also cool in the anime because they actually play the first opening theme. Just like because it's just this is just pure adventure as they fucking like just like the sequence of events that led them here is just to take a giant like stream into the fucking sky. It's cool stuff. It's cool. One Piece is cool.
No, yeah, it's really good. I don't know if this would be conveyed as much in the anime because like just with manga you can like change the panel sizes and whatnot. But like I'm already kind of like terrified of the ocean for things like this. So like to see this massive giant whirlpool and this tiny little ship is like, oh my god! And they have to.
Oh, yeah.
So like, but
stuff.
like in the anime, like you can't like change that aspect ratio.
Yeah,
so I don't know if it would look as daunting as it does in the manga form, where it's like this big spread.
And especially in this part, like I like the way he draws like the shading and the water and the clouds. Like I'm looking at the next volume where there's just the dark spot, because the dark spot from the island up above, which we found out, and there's this like we see that from Jaya. We see the end of the knockup stream, and just like there's a bunch of grays around the clouds and stuff, and like he's just really good with his grays and his blacks. These couple chapters, like the art's really good at like. If you look back at the old stuff, like his art style has definitely evolved. Like, but we're getting into like, I mean, the art in this, like some people like the art in like Skypiea and Water 7, especially like the next arc, like some of the best art because it's like it's not as goofy, but it's like a refinement on that kind of style. So I understand why people like it better than later stuff. Like I'm fine with either personally, but like Oda's art has always been good in general though. So, but it's just he's just been refining it, I'd say. So. But yeah, they did it. They done did it. They rode the knockup stream into the fucking sky, and they're on the They're literally sailing on the clouds, and it's cool. And Usopp dies.
See, I do also think it's interesting in that exchange that like you talked about Nami sort of being the one who kind of like sees both sides, and she's like willing to question that. So like she's the navigator. She's the one who like. Without her, they would have probably fallen down and died. So like they needed her to like navigate these currents. So like if she is like the doubter who's like uncertain but still pushes on anyway, I think it's cool that like she's the one sort of getting them there,
guiding
like,
the ship. Also, yeah, because
you're riding the currents.
It's like yeah, because I mean, there's more to it in the later parts, but she's because the doubt is also it comes from a place of like logic and knowing. So it's like. She's suitable as a navigator because she doubts basically, but also even like her doubts don't like hold her back either. Like here she is like, I'm your navigator, let's fucking go. Like what's she gonna do? Turn around? Like no, she's made a commitment, so she's gonna go for it. Like even though there's a chance that the ship will not land on a cloud's sea and just fall back down. Like but no, she's gonna because hesitation at this point is just suicide. So yeah, makes sense.
I do like, what was I going to say? What was it? Damn it. Now I don't remember. Oh yeah, I do like how Oda, like, this could sort of play into, like, the joke of Luffy saying, like, oh, it's all just a mystery. But I do think it's interesting that Oda, he has all these sort of, like, supernatural, fantastical, like, elements, but he's still, like, using the wind currents and whatnot. So, like, there's still, like, he still kind of like implements a bit of like science to it, even if it is exaggerated fantasy
of
science.
Course, yeah. Well, because like that's the thing. Like as you'll come to find later, is like with some exceptions, there's almost kind of no magic in One Piece. Like Bellamy even says it. Like everything has a scientific backing, And that's true, but that's also true of the fantastical elements. Like, the devil fruits, like, they're, like, Chopper comes up with a drug that's able to manipulate his devil fruits. Like, that's a science. Like, devil fruits are a science you can, like, boil down into parts. It's not a real science, it's a fantasy science, but it's still a science. And, you have that here, like, later on, I think Konus's dad is talking about the carotene, and like, oh yeah, it shoots at the carotene, and Usopp and Luffy are like, oh yeah, I used to play with carotene as a kid, and it's like, what? They're just being stupid. But it's like, yeah, so it's like, I mean, I don't need the explanation personally, but it's neat that he's thinking about it, and like there are ways, if he's like. Oda's good with bringing stuff back, so like, I mean, I'm not saying like all this carotene's gonna come back, but like just in general.
Also, a quick question.
Go ahead.
Because when the ship is destroyed for Blackbeard's group, is that the legendary float wood that
super floaty
was introduced with Mr. 3?
I have no idea. I mean, it's very big, like logs, but they're not. So I don't know. Maybe. So speaking of stuff coming back, I guess is what you're saying. Yep. But oh yeah, because I guess like going back to they do end on the like we see the last of them for this scene, and Van Ogre mentions like as long as if our will is strong, we'll meet again. Like so they're kind of like leaning into that fate aspect. So yeah, continue up until the end basically. But anyway, they get to the sky. They meet the Night Gone Fall, and they're attacked by some tribal-looking dude. Oh yeah, I like how like they kind of get beaten up at first, and he's like, well yeah, the altitude is gonna mess with you, and they're like, Zoro and Luffy like, yeah, I'm starting to get used to it, and he's like, wait, hold on. And then and later on they're fighting like normally, and so they were right, they did get used to it because they're fucking weirdos, like just going back to like, I've never been sick before, and it's like they're so wild. Oh god. Oh yeah, and then they find out there's another way to get to the Sky Island. And he's like, whoa, you guys rode the currents, man. You guys are crazy. And Nami's like, what the fuck? Oh, man. But they get the whistle. That will not be important. It's Oda. Nothing is ever important. Oh yeah, and I love his bird's got the horse fruit. But he looks like, he's a Pegasus. A stupid looking Pegasus. Because it's Oda. Nothing can ever be normal with Oda.
What I did think was interesting, like that there would be another way to get to the Sky Island, and like there's this whole like civilization they've got up there. Well, maybe not an entire civilization. Well, like there's
other Sky Islands. So yeah, like the Sky Islands have their own. Like there's the Blue Sea and the White Sea. And the White Sea has its own culture and currency, and there's
so like what I'm trying to like get at here was like because we have said that Jaya felt very kind of like East Bluey. It's sort of interesting that there is this big there's a lot going on with Skypiea.
Yeah, there's a juxtaposition.
Whereas like everyone on Jaya had been saying like, oh, it doesn't exist. Skypiea is just a legend. It's a joke made up by this guy. But because and a lot of the people we saw in Jaya are a bunch of scrubs. Like there's Bellamy. So, like, they're a bunch of nobodies. So, like, there's been all this build-up for Skypiea, but that there is, like, all of these things that the crew finds up here. I don't know, it's just an interesting display of perspective, I guess.
Because it's like going back to the faith and faithlessness thing. If Jaya and Mocktown are faithlessness, then Skypiea would be faith, because they literally worship a god. So obviously we're going to get more of that. But also, like, going back to the normal and fantastic thing, like, they're also the opposites that way. Jaya is very normal and East Blue-like, whereas Skypiea is very fantastic, and there's this weird culture. So it's like, they're opposites in those two different ways, and it's kind of neat. Though it's also notable that Cricket has, like, this facade of this giant castle. So, but he's also the dreamer. He's a little different from Jaya, but he wants to be. He wants to see the sky. So, and prove that it exists. So yeah, it's cool. I'm just like reading this one panel where they get to Heaven's Gate and Luffy's like, "We're dead," or no, that's Chopper saying we're dead, and Luffy's like, "Heaven, I can't wait," and I'm like, "Oh my god, Luffy, no, don't die." But yeah, then they get charged an exorbitant fee to go through the gate, which we find out isn't actually that exorbitant, because
you can pay this fee, which seems like a lot, or you can just go through, and no consequences for that.
Oh man, just a little heavenly judgment. Oh yeah, so I just noticed that the Wapol cover story has started, which means the Hachi one ended. So to summarize, Hachi escaped the marine ship. He did a sort of like Zelda trading mini game where he just like got some shit, and then he he got I remember it ended on a trident, and he used a trident, or after like he traded a fish hook to some guy, and he used a trident to beat up a fish, and then the fish spit up the mermaid Kami and the starfish Papug, and then he traded her for to slavers for a takoyaki recipe so he can get a girl, and then he got the mermaid back, and now he's a takoyaki salesman with a mermaid and a starfish on his with him, which actually I think Kami's the first mermaid we've actually seen, and we also saw the octopus fish woman. I think you mentioned in SBS, but there's fishmen and there's mermen, basically. So, and then there's fish woman and merwoman. So there's two different species, basically. So, yeah. Just, did you have any thoughts on the Hachi cover story? Again, it hasn't come up in the actual story yet, but if you had anything else to add,
Yeah, I didn't think it was a super interesting cover story. I don't know. I didn't really care for Hachi all that. I don't know. Out of all the characters that have been introduced in One Piece since Arlong, I've sort of forgotten about Hachi.
That's fair.
So, I don't know. His cover story was fine.
Yep. And then now we're in the Wapol one, which we'll talk about when the Wapol one ends, because yeah, that sure was
I like
a cover.
the way that Wapol starts off, where it's I eat trees, I eat lamps, I eat benches.
Yeah, he's just he's just being that's the thing is he's he's been dethroned and he doesn't have a crew anymore, so he's just I'm just gonna eat stuff and be a dick. He's just I'm gonna pretend to be a bench, and these people are gonna sit on me, and they're gonna be haha, I'm sitting on a bench, but now he's no, they're sitting on a king, and he's well, he's just being a dick for no reason at all. I'm what the fuck, Wapol? So anyway, yep, they go up to the Sky Island proper. They say it's Skypiea, but it's actually not. Well, not quite. It's Angel Beach, and they're horsing around, and they meet Konis, the angel girl, and we get I don't know if there's anything specific to say, but we do learn. They just because a lot of people think the arc is slow, and there is a lot of exposition, which I think is fair because it is a very different setting, and the Straw Hats are curious and they're exploring. So we learn about dials, these shells that they can store wind and sounds and stuff, and of course the Waver runs on a dial, and Nami's boss at writing it. We're mostly or what's up?
I sort of said this earlier, but you're right. I could see people having a problem with all this exposition just being dropped in here, but for me it was interesting because, like I said, this is a totally new environment for them. So there's all this new terminology that they have no clue what. This is a completely different world that they're exploring, which I like that. It's creative.
And of course, we aren't done with the arc yet, so there's we don't know what will be important and what might not be. So yeah.
I wonder if the Cloud Sea is like the normal sea. Maybe Luffy will float. Oh wait, nope, he's drowning. Also, I like how Chopper jumps in and they have to drag Chopper out.
Well, actually, I thought about it, and Chopper probably hasn't had much experience with water because he comes from a snow island. So I didn't think about because it makes sense. He's a dork and he's kind of naive, so it makes sense that he'd I'll save you, Luffy, but forgetting that he can't swim. But I only just realized that it makes sense that he wouldn't think about that because he doesn't swim. He's a reindeer. So yeah. Then we also learn about the upper yard, which has big old trees, and Nami gets a glimpse of it as she sees a bunch of dudes murder some guy. They're passing on divine judgment from the Kami. They're doing the Dragon Ball thing where they're just literally using the word Kami because it's foreign and mysterious, when in Japanese it just means God. Yeah, Goku met God, and now Luffy's about to meet God. It just happens in Japan sometimes. Though I think I understand why, because in the West, the God is it's monotheistic. He's all above all. Where in Japan sometimes uses that, but in Japanese Shinto, it's everything is a god. There's a god in your microphone. There's a god in your computer. There's a god in every grain of rice. So it's not always as important. So there's just a difference in scale, I suppose. Though Japan uses both. like, because I mean, what you have, but just a bunch of weird character introductions and Nami seeing him. So, did you have any thoughts on that, or should we get into the Captain McKinley White Beret stuff? Because there's not a lot of the arc to go. We're almost done.
Before that, just one tiny little thing I liked was when like the way that Oda draws this big explosion power thing. Like right before, there's this big like flash of light, and like it like what's the word? It like what's the word? Like it shadows the characters, but that's not the word.
I know what you mean. The shading, or the
like I don't know.
The lighting,
What the heck is the word? I can't think of it. But it washes out. Maybe that's the word. Like the characters are, there's this big flash of light and then boom, and I like that because it does. I mean, you do see it again later with Luffy and the other thing. It just looks really cool, and it's like it does sort of carry this like divine judgment like feeling, because like there's this big flash of light and then it's bam.
Big so we're getting name drops, like the one tribal dude is saying it's Eneru, how dare he do that to the Varse. So we're kind of getting I don't know if they explained what the Varse is, but at this point, or Eneru, but stuff to see, like, so many names you have to, and words you have to remember. I mean, One Piece has always had a lot of names, but now there's like new terminologies and stuff that like dials and such of varying importance.
I mean, there is a lot to take in here, so I'm sure, like, as I'm reading this, there are probably little things that I maybe missed or didn't.
And another thing is, like, I don't know how, like, the early scanlation, like, see, I think this might have been when One Piece was, like, because, like, those pages, the page I just showed you earlier of Bisaromi Bear, where it's like, I think this is about when the time when scanlations were starting for One Piece, I bet. So I feel like Skypiea might have been the first arc people were reading weekly, is what I'm saying. Which means, no wonder they fucking hated it, because weekly reading fucking sucks. Unless you are aware of the fact that you're reading weekly, because, like, you only get one chapter a week, and you're like, oh, okay, things happen, and you're getting less of the story in over wider stretches of time. It's not, for a lot of people, that's probably not going to be as enjoyable. So, yeah.
Kind of like with the Dark Continent with Hunter x Hunter back, because I know those scanlations were very wordy. I mean, like, Togashi already uses a lot of dialogue, but, like, when it's even wordier, that's...
Yeah, so you get, like, one chapter with, like, lots of dialogue, and then you get maybe 10 chapters, and, Hunter x Hunter's coming back for another 10 chapters, and it's going to go on a hiatus, so... Because it's... that's just how it goes. So, well, yeah, like, but it's, like... We can't call the Dark Continent arc slow-paced until it's all out, because, like, of course it feels slow. You're getting 10 chapters a year, or, like, maybe 20 chapters a year, at best. So, yeah, I just, like, again, if post things about, like, pacing, especially if you're only reading weekly, it's like, whatever, it doesn't matter. But, yeah, McKinley tries to arrest the Straw Hats. There's a bit of a cultural difference. And though, I mean, it's,
I like how they go from, like, you didn't pay the fine, so you're a class 11 criminal. It's like, oh, now you're a class 10 criminal. Oh, now you're a class 9. Oh, now you're a class 5.
It just keeps going down as they fuck up. And like, Nami's like, we can't pay that fine, are you crazy? And she's just like, oh, she hits him, but then no, it was an accident. She can't use a waiver. She's a Blue Sea Dweller. And of course it turns into fighting. And I wanted to point out that, like, this is supposed to be, like, godly judgments, but it's like it's just policing. He's a police officer. That's it. So I don't have much to say, though.
Yeah, Luffy just takes him down with one attack, and they're like, oh, but we're the nice guys. You're gonna have to deal with the real punishment now.
The God's vassals in the upper yard, who we saw, basically, they were the guys who were chasing that one dude that Nami saw get fucked up, so... yeah. And of course Nami's, like, impressing that on Luffy by like, tapping his head. Like, I love the panel where she's just, like, bonking the shit out of him, like, no, we're not going to the upper yard, fuck that. So, has the fear of God in her now, you could say. But yeah, Conus is still helping out. Not really, as we find out, because, she's, as a citizen, she has to help, the God, and so she's going to take them to because Nami and everyone gets kidnapped by a giant lobster that literally has God on his forehead. I forgot about that.
Well, wait, I thought they didn't translate. I thought they left it as Tommy. Why does it say God
right?
now?
It's like, why even bother?
It's also funny, just the joke of, like, they get kidnapped, and Sanji's just like, why'd Nami put on a shirt? Like,
Yep.
if that's his major concern. Like, even after they get pulled away, he's just like, why? He's just dumbfounded, and Usopp's like, you idiot!
So,
Hello.
Yep. Then they gotta go save the others. Luffy, Usopp, and Sanji. Conus is taking them to the ship, but then there was one scene I like where Conus spills the beans and says that, like, she's tells them to run away, and that she was the one who summoned the lobster, and they're not mad because, like, she's betraying them. They're mad because, like, they didn't tell them, and now she's putting herself in danger by telling them now. Like, and of course Luffy saves her. So I thought it was an interesting little bit. But yeah, and then the lightning comes down again. It is lightning, by the way, which is so
that explains the flash of light.
Yes, Gonfall takes Conus to safety, and Luffy, Sanji, and Usopp are going to the upper yard, and that's why I thought it was a good break point, because it's like, a lot, like, again, people like to divide One Piece arcs by the island they're on, so it's like, start on Jaya, now we're doing the Angel Beach, and now we're going on to the Skypiea proper, so, and that's where I decided to divide the arc here. And next time, we will finish Skypiea proper, or did you have anything else to say on Angel Beach? The Conus stuff, like, it's all, because, like,
sort of, like,
it's all kind of set up, so, or what's up?
Well, it looks like we leave off in this sort of, like, cliffhanger thing, because he's like, I know who you are, I'm the Sky Knight, and she's like, everybody knows, and it's like, please come back to us, Kami, and it's like, he's God too, I guess, so, yeah, and we'll talk a lot about that, so yeah, it's, again, mostly a bunch of setup, for Skypiea, like, I did end it, like, right in the middle of the setup for it's still getting into the actual arc proper, so it's like, yeah, I guess I would say that was like Act 1 of Skypiea, like, it ends with the inciting incident of them going to the, Nami and gang getting captured, and Luffy going to, the upper yard to save him, so, yeah, it's just kind of like, yep, that happened. I did think it was interesting that there was also just, like, the sort of mini arc before, like, even, like, just the build up to Skypiea, like, most of what we covered was just, like, building up to Skypiea, which was interesting. Yeah,
all the cool stuff, and yeah, it's neat. And I don't have much else to say on it, though, because it is just set up for later stuff, which we will get into next time. So, any final thoughts on Jaya and Angel Beach?
Good start. Can't wait for more Skypiea.
Cool.
But I'll have to wait until next time.
Next time we're reading the rest of Skypiea, which is from chapter 245 to 302. So it's almost 60 chapters. So it's a bigger stretch of chapters. Again, I did feel that this was the best way to divide it, though. So shorter episode this time. I don't mind. That's less for me to edit. So see you in 2 weeks. Thank you for listening. Goodbye.